welcome to Have I Got News For You? I'm Victoria Coren Mitchell. In the news this week. In Thailand, there are concerns that scooter thieves are becoming more brazen by the day. At a gym in Brazil, as dawn breaks, a couple of locals pop in for a quick workout. And at the BBC, there are doubts about the production values of the new series of Walking with Dinosaurs. On Ian's team tonight is a comedian whose spectacular dancing performance in Strictly recently won a BAFTA, beating a sex scene from Bridgerton, which was equally rhythmic, but with rather more basic hip action. Please welcome Chris McCausland. On Paul's team tonight is a journalist and broadcaster who's admitted that she keeps roadkill in her freezer. Makes sense. Sometimes when you get home after a busy day, all you've got time to do is microwave a badger. Please welcome Janet Street-Porter. We begin with the bigger news stories of the week. Ian and Chris, here's yours.
Well, you want to talk us through this, Ian?
Yeah, Chris, there's our Prime Minister and Ursula von der Leyen doing the Brexit deal. There's some sausages looking rather revolting. There's a fish's head. There's a cat going on holiday. And, oh, my God. Oh, thank God for that. It's a man underneath a blanket.
Looked like it was a bit dirty, did it, at one point?
It looked like it was a new Channel 4 show. So the early stuff is the EU.
Yeah, it's all the EU stuff, isn't it?
Look, it's the chance to talk about Brexit again.
It just never ends. Nobody said this is going to go on forever. If you were to ask half of the people that voted Brexit, half of them now would go, I wish we hadn't bothered, wouldn't they?
Well, you can say that. I can't, because I'm very balanced.
But Keir Starmer had a triumphant cry. He's being very positive. What was that cry?
The cry was, I've done the deal. I mean, he's turned into Trump.
Britain is back, he said.
Back where?
Well, he said it standing between Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, and the President of the European Council, Antonio Costa. He's done well since he left Blue, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't it the worst of both worlds, though? Because he is upsetting all the people that voted Brexit, and yet not going back into Europe. So who's happy with it then?
Nobody, but mentioning Brexit, no one's happy.
Do you know what? It's like if the EU was like nuts, and then you've got people who are completely allergic to nuts and people who really, really love nuts, and Keir Starmer's gone, I've got 3 nuts. That's exactly what it is.
Well, maybe next time you'll be doing the negotiations.
But you can take your cat on holiday now.
Yeah.
Through an e-gate.
Yeah.
What's not to like?
You can take your cat to the Canary Islands.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're right,
You're nitpicking.
I'm talking the whole deal down.
The other thing is, the e-gates, more of us can go through the e-gates, but my passport with a chip has never worked, so I've never had the luxury of going through an e-gate. Even at Heathrow, I have to go in the queue.
You won't go to the front of the queue until you look like Holly Willoughby anyway.
Nothing's actually done. It's all talk about what might happen.
Yes.
But yes, so pet passports would be coming back, and that's good news, isn't it?
Does anybody take a cat on holiday? Is this if you're moving house? Who's taking a cat on holiday?
But they're looking for votes. This could be a real vote winner.
Yeah.
It's all those unexpected little subjects like taking your cat on holiday.
Yeah.
But the pet passports are subject to the same rules as the human ones, so no smiling in the photo. We're seeing a very angry cat there,
Victoria,
Chris.
can I just point out, at the beginning of the show, you said that I had roadkill and Badger. My dog is called Badger, and I'd like to say sorry to him right now, in case he's offended.
You mentioned the sausage news. What's changed there? Sorry, this is not in relation to your dog.
I mean, I understand that your dog might have a good time on holiday, but your cat's not going to enjoy it.
We can now sell sausages to the EU
Yes.
if we comply.
You're obsessed with these sausages, aren't you? Are you obsessed?
I tell you who's obsessed with sausages.
Who is?
Do you remember?
Who?
Let's have a listen.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The return of the sausages.
I mean, what I love is the way he sorrowfully corrects himself. The sausages, the hostages. Who would say sausages when they mean hostages?
How do we know he didn't mean hostages this time? And he's opened the door to British hostages being allowed to go to the EU.
What does Nigel Farage think of the New Deal?
He's been on holiday. Well, it was all unveiled. He was on his long-awaited, long-earned, very well-deserved rest, not in the country.
Yeah, he didn't turn up to the announcement of the reset in Parliament. You'd think the one moment in his new MP's job, but no, he was on a holiday.
And didn't take his cat.
The deal that they're extending for the next 12 years is exactly the same deal that Boris Johnson negotiated and said was a brilliant deal.
Yeah.
It's come to an end, we had to renegotiate it. To do a deal, which is very difficult to explain to people, you need two people to agree. And if we're trying to get a better deal with Europe, just to sell them something, sausages without... we have to negotiate. And this is a real problem for a lot of commentators.
Do you know what the UK offered in our negotiation on the fishing deal?
Yes.
What was that?
I'd rather not answer.
I'm going to guess fish.
Well, Keir Starmer offered that Europe would have access to our fishing grounds, an extension for a year.
Yes.
And then he accepted it would be 3 years. And then just at the last minute before the press conference, France said, do you know what, we want 12.
Oh, right.
And he had to say yes.
Yeah.
He's extending the fishing limits to 5 miles inland, isn't he?
I hadn't heard that.
No, neither had I.
What did Boris Johnson think of the trade deal?
He said it was an appalling surrender, and he said that Sir Keir was acting like an orange ball-chewing, manacled gimp. I mean, we say to young journalists, you know, write about what you know.
Did you say bald chewing?
Orange ball.
Oh.
chewing.
Oh, it's ball. Okay.
Oh.
So he's not orange. The ball's orange.
The ball is orange.
What's the ball?
It's in the mouth of the gimp. I had to look a lot of this up.
Oh, this won't be broadcast.
And this is in a family newspaper, and it's much quoted, and Boris seems to think this is fine. This is what most people are thinking.
Well, it is now.
Would you like to see Victoria Derbyshire giving a prominent Conservative MP airtime to express his views about the deal?
Absolutely.
Let's see.
Welcome to you. Would you say the Conservative Party are still the party of business?
They certainly are. And I'd also say...
Before you go on, the reason I ask is because on today's deal, the Federation of Small Businesses like the deal, the CBI likes the deal, the British Chambers of Commerce like it, the Food and Drink Federation like it, UK Hospitality likes it, Salmon Scotland likes it, the British Meat Processors Association likes it, Morrison's Supermarket likes it. Are they all wrong?
There is an ideological tug-of-war going on within the Labour Party. What was the big thing this week?
Winter fuel allowance.
What's happened there?
Well, this has been called a U-turn. But the trouble is, once you've made that original decision, whatever you do, you're then sort of like criticised.
We are walking into a pensions crisis, though, because everybody's living longer, so maybe cutting that winter fuel allowance would help solve... would solve another problem.
What do you think of Rachel Reeves? Does she impress you as a character?
I don't want to demean her, because I think she's doing quite a good job, actually. Stunned silence.
It's an unenviable.
I think Rachel Reeves has held her nerve so far. I mean, I cannot imagine working with Angela Rayner, because she's a larger-than-life character.
She's got red hair, she's loud-mouthed.
Yeah.
I was in a taxi the other day, driven by an old friend of mine, actually, a chap called Norman, who I used to play poker with. And I mentioned I was coming on the show, and he went, oh, I love Janet Street Porter. She used to be a bit rough and ready, but she talks so posh now. But Rachel Reeves's voice, interestingly, some people say it's a bit too deep and booming and foghorn. Like, I don't think that's fair. I mean, have a look at this.
We have to now go, in fact, to the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, who's been speaking about the inflation data.
But the numbers today are clearly disappointing. We want to see inflation coming down after the cost of living challenges that people have been through.
Oh, It's running at the wrong speed. Oh, don't be mean.
Well, it's not mean. Listen, that was a mistake that was made on Sky News, but it could improve many politicians. I mean, have a listen to this.
Yes.
Now, in a diverse nation like ours, and I celebrate that, these rules become even more important. Without them, we risk becoming an island of strangers.
Sunak stood up and said, I will stop the boats, casting millions of votes at the general election. Starmer today has made a firm pledge that there'll be a big reduction in numbers. If there's not, he'll pay a very, very heavy price.
Because we are draining the swamp. And the days of rule by unelected bureaucrats are over.
Keir Starmer did a rare thing in the Commons this week. What was that?
Did he shave a goat?
No.
No?
No.
You haven't got the footage, have you?
He apologised, which they don't often do.
That's right.
He'd insulted Liz Saville-Roberts at PMQs.
Yes.
And, he said she was talking rubbish. I think, let's see that. Maybe we'll see that with a little adjustment.
Is there any belief he holds which survives a week in Downing Street?
Yes, the belief that she talks rubbish.
This is Keir Starmer's deal with the EU, which has been seen by Brexiteers as a total sellout. Brexiteers have claimed the new deal offers freedom of movement by the back door. To be fair to...
The audience has defined itself.
To be fair to Keir Starmer, that's his only option while all his front doors are being repaired. It's a firebombing joke. Meanwhile...
Always the best.
According to The Guardian, negotiations were painstaking, with much time spent arguing over commas, as well as colons, and whether the EU would allow them in sausages. Discussing the contents of the trade deal, the Daily Telegraph reported pet passports will be introduced for UK cats and dogs, and businesses will be able to sell burgers and sausages to the EU. God, I hope those two aren't linked.
Sausages are always linked. Thank you very much.
Paul and Janet, here's yours.
Yes. OK, we know this man is Donald Trump. That's Ronald Reagan from the 80s. We're wearing a cowboy hat. That's a cartoon missile, probably from a Popeye film. And that's Melania.
I think it's all to do with Donald Trump wanting to be someone who has a legacy. So this week he announced a new missile defence system.
The Golden Dome, he's calling it, isn't he?
The Golden Dome. Have you seen Donald Trump's mantelpiece?
I beg your pardon?
Donald Trump, his mantelpiece is gold, 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 but it's all crap.
Well, we've got a picture of him in the Oval Office with the gold dome, if you'd like to see that.
Yes.
Please.
There he is, and let's see the detailed plan.
Oh, my...
They can have missiles in space
that
will fire down to get rid of other missiles.
Like a $500 billion kind of defence system, and it sounds like an ITV quiz show. Donald Trump's Golden Dome.
It's because Israel has a system like this, which is called the Iron Dome.
That's right.
So he has to have a golden dome.
Yeah.
He doesn't realise that gold is softer than iron.
Anyway, there's a tariff on missiles coming in. It's about 25% at the moment, but it might change.
It's Elon Musk's company, of course, SpaceX. That's going to have the contract to...
No surprises there, then.
They're going to launch rockets equipped with lethal payloads into orbit. And, of course, they did that trial run with Katy Perry, didn't they? So they know, know what they're doing. What about the names for the missile defence system? There are 3 different options.
Was one the Gulf of Space?
The White House suggested the names Moonshot Plus, Moonshot Plus Plus. Then they couldn't come up with a third one. Who is the latest person to be ambushed in the Oval Office?
The president of South Africa.
Oh, that was awkward. Did you see that?
What intrigued me is who the president of South Africa took with him to meet with Donald Trump, to put Donald Trump in a really good mood. So he took 2 professional golfers. Those were the South African delegation, not politicians.
No.
Not economists, but two top professional golfers.
And, I mean, he just did that thing, which you obviously have to do now in the White House. You know, you're the president of South Africa. This man in front of you says, lower the lights. And we have a slideshow of made-up videos talking about white genocide in South Africa. And you go, it's like being in an asylum.
It started out quite jolly, didn't it? The beginning of the meeting was fine.
I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you.
I wish you did. I would take it. If your country offered the United States Air Force a plane, I would take it.
But then by the end of the meeting, it was a slightly different tone.
Death. 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 Horrible death.
Trump produced some pictures of graves where these sort of massacres of white farmers supposedly happened. And the president said, well, where is this? And Trump said, South Africa. I mean, it was all complete rubbish, but that's what you'd expect.
There's a bonus point available.
Yes, go on then.
Right.
Fingers on buzzers.
Right.
I'll ask the question.
Oh, I see. I was confused by the phrase fingers on buzzers.
What do these four have in common?
Right.
A 1970s bathroom.
Yes.
A New Zealander.
Yes.
An unwanted third person. And Bruce Springsteen.
Well, Trump's attacked Bruce Springsteen recently.
What did he say about it?
Criticised his skin, which is a bit the pot calling the kettle black, isn't it?
Avocado.
So, an avocado bathroom.
Yes.
A New Zealander.
Yeah.
A kiwi.
An unwanted third person.
A gooseberry. They're all fruits.
And...
Well, Springsteen isn't a fruit. Oh, no, you're right, it is, yeah, sorry.
Donald Trump called Springsteen...
A tomato.
A dried-out prune.
Oh, a rocker. But aren't all prunes dried out? Why say dried-out prune? That's like saying wet rain.
Yeah.
Have you heard about the reality show that the Department of Homeland Security is thinking of commissioning?
Oh, yes. Is it sort of like if you win the competition, you get to stay in America?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Oh, really?
I thought I was making it up.
No, it's called The American, and the format is migrants compete for US citizenship by undertaking typically American challenges like log rolling in Wisconsin, auto assembly in Detroit, and getting shot by a police officer in Chicago. This idea has been pitched by a producer called Rob Worsoff. Staying with Trump supporters.
Yes.
Why was a couple from Rhode Island disappointed with a watch they'd bought?
Oh, yes, I saw this story. It's a very ugly watch. It's like a pink sort of gold watch. And written inside the face of the watch, it says Trump, but the T was missing.
That's right. They bought it from GetTrumpWatches.com.
Yeah.
$640.
Yeah.
It was supposed to look like this, but in fact it looked like this.
But I like that.
It's a great watch. I mean, a Trump watch should presumably tell you the time that he should be doing.
Tim Pettit was the fellow who bought the watch for his wife Melanie. He said, "We expected that it would have the integrity of the President of the United States."
Well, you won't be disappointed then, will you?
The new American Pope had a special visitor this week. Who was that?
Yes, it was Vance.
Oh, blimey, have they let him back in?
Yeah, and the Pope's still alive.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Because Vance took over as the Grim Reaper.
Yeah, exactly right.
Gave him an invite, didn't he, to the White House? Did he give him an invite to the White House?
He did, yes. And let's see His Holiness's excitement at the invitation.
First of all, this is a letter from the President and the First Lady inviting you to come to you. Many things to do, but wanted to make sure I came to
It's a huge invitation, isn't it? Huge. It's about, he's got to hold it in both hands. It's an enormous envelope.
You want to see the size of Donald Trump's writing, though? He uses a crayon.
Who was especially surprised to see the new Pope on the balcony of St. Peter's?
Oh, the old Pope.
Yeah.
It was a personal trainer called Valerio Marcello. Why was he surprised?
Didn't know who he was until he saw him on the telly, and he thought he was a banker or an accountant or something like that.
Yes, according to the Times, he could lift 15 kilograms with each arm 20 times for 3 to 4 sets. Of course, that was as nothing compared to the effort he's making here Smiling at J.D. Vance. This is Donald Trump's plan to create a golden dome in the United States. Meanwhile, Trump is said to be working on a plan to move 1 million Palestinians from Gaza to Libya, even though the US State Department advises against travel to Libya due to crime, terrorism, unexploded landmines, civil unrest, kidnapping and armed conflict. To which the Gazans responded, sounds all right. According to Donald Trump, Iran has sort of agreed a deal on its nuclear programme. In the same way, for most of his life, Donald has sort of obtained consent. One possible obstacle to a nuclear deal with Iran is that Trump is seen as the murderer of General Qasem Soleimani, commander of the elite Quds Force, Iran's crack Scrabble team. Time now for round 2, the one-armed noise bandit of news.
Oh.
Fingers on buzzers, teams. Paul and Janet.
This was quite an obscure story, but it's a couple who are having a romantic weekend in a hotel, and the husband told the hotel staff that my wife is very fond of crisps. Could you sort of put some crisps on the bed? You've been there, haven't you? And he was expecting them to have bags of crisps, but what they did, they just emptied all the crisps onto the bed. And the couple in the next room heard a lot of pork scratching during the night.
Let's have a look at the crisps strewn on the bed. Johnny Norman and his wife Rachel on a romantic weekend in Blackpool.
There's an oxymoron, a romantic weekend in Blackpool. Yeah. Big Dipper. Well, I'm doing my best.
What did Rachel make of the gesture?
She was touched.
According to the Manchester Evening News, Rachel thought they were victims of a strange break-in, but she still decided to eat some of them.
I think if I was on a date and I'd gone in and seen that, I might have thought, I'll give it a go.
And speaking of crisps...
Yes.
Yes, as which we have been.
Who's just been sacked?
Gary Lineker. He's left the BBC after retweeting an offensive anti-Semitic tweet by someone else about Israel and Gaza, and having become famous essentially for saying that the government had used the language of the 1930s in Germany. He failed to spot that one of the big things they did in 1930s Germany was refer to Jews as rats. So he retweeted a rat and, understandably, had to resign.
I just think, I'm sure he's a decent guy, but to retweet something like that on that subject without being ultra careful what you are retweeting is stupid.
Things aren't black and white, and you have to be careful with the nuance, which obviously I always am, and get into no trouble ever.
People can be quite anti-BBC and so look for any reason to have a go at the BBC in these issues. But if you had a footballer tweeting things that made the team look bad, these people would be let go. You know what I mean? So why is it different?
Yeah, and my main objection to the whole thing was I don't mind him talking about politics, but the football, God.
Would you keep the VAR system?
Yes.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I'm doing it next season. I'm going to be quicker.
Yeah.
So this Sunday, Gary Lineker is finishing his career with the BBC. Who are you going to follow the 26th World Cup with now, Ian? Maybe Sam Matterface on ITV?
Yep, he's my man. Is he really called Sam Matterface?
Yeah.
Perhaps they'll just hire Gary Lineker. What do you think?
I think ITV are going to, aren't they?
I'm sure they will hire him to present another show.
Yeah, they don't mind. And they'll hire anyone.
Thank you, Ian. Well, I'm sure there'll be a slot for him on Loose Women.
I'm sure that sounded dirtier than you meant.
I wouldn't bet on it.
Finally, Would you like to hear a highly respected broadcaster falling off a chair?
Yes, please.
Yes. Here we go.
And if they're supplying this service, I want to see what that service is, and I don't want my water to be polluted.
And this is where, you know, I think reform will do very well, as they did with the Scunthorpe Steelworks. So they came directly to say that's an area government needs to step in, that's where nationalisation needs to come in.
Oh my gosh.
OK, forget it. Fine. Just carry on.
And so, look, there's...
If you asked me what that was, I never would have thought it sounded like a building that collapsed. It sounds like he's in platoon and just go on without me. Carry on. Leave me behind.
This is the news that a man's romantic gesture for his crisp, mad wife went wrong. Here's the bed covered in crisps.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying she was angry at the bed covered with crisps, but he does now have a sharp pain in the whatsits. Fingers on buzzers, teams.
Hello.
Yes.
Well, that was it was a bit of nature and a hello. Is this the talking trees?
Yes.
There you go. So Chelsea Flower Show, because AI's everywhere now. It's even getting involved in nature, and they've connected trees up in a way that they can talk to you and tell you what they want. And mainly they just say, water!
I thought they'd done it because there's a royal visit and they've got to have someone for Charles to talk to.
12 trees have been fitted with sensors. Here's a sensor. It seems like it's been sort of hammered into the trunk, which
yes.
Yeah. Tree didn't like. They monitor the temperature in the soil.
Yeah.
And visitors can type questions to the tree and get a written answer about how they are.
Stop hammering fucking sensors into me!
You know, you can ask the trees questions remotely as well. We did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We asked a silver birch.
Yes.
The question, what do you think of Ian Hislop?
Oh, go on, then.
Here's what we got back. It looks like there's been an issue with tree talk. Please try again later. What was the king showing off at the Chelsea Flower Show?
Juggling skills?
A new flower, the King's Rose.
Oh, yes.
They were presenting it formally at Chelsea, and in fact, the King's Rose was seen in David Beckham's buttonhole.
Oh, blimey.
He really does want that knighthood.
Was he tiny shoes at the time?
This is the news that AI can help you talk to trees. King Charles has spent many hours talking to the trees at Highgrove. They eventually managed to get a word in. I see why you're angry, but we thought she was all right in suits. Fingers on buzzers, teams.
Handle.
It's the water music.
It's the theme tune for one of the most watched programmes in the world.
News at 10.
It's like a huge...
Oh, yes.
Programme.
Handle tonight.
The Eurovision Song Contest.
Oh, yes.
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 Who won?
Oh, Austria.
Yeah. It was Austria. And
Music.
how did the UK get on?
Oh, they got 0 points.
In the public vote?
In the public vote.
Did you vote for them, Paul?
I didn't know it was on.
Oh. The French one was good. Somebody pointed out that it looked like the French lady had a little bit of tummy trouble.
Oh, yes.
Should we have a look?
Yeah, go on in.
Drop golden rain.
Yeah. I was about to say I've never really been into shows where you have to vote before, but I've realised I actually quite like them now.
Did you win on the popular vote?
Oh, I mean, I don't like to talk about it, Ian, but maybe.
Ian, it was the greatest thing that's ever been on television. And perhaps the greatest achievement, that Chris's personality remained the same all the way through. And he was like a comedian, except he did this incredible dancing.
Do you know what? 20-odd years is the best compliment. Like a comedian.
Yeah. Uncanny.
I'm putting that on my tour posters.
Did anybody see the Finnish entry?
Yes, quite the people that tuned in.
Don't think anybody made it to the finish.
The Finnish entry, Erika Vickman's already quite raunchy song, Ich komme.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But it was enhanced by adding a sign language interpreter into the mix. Let's have a look at this.
So she's meant to be doing a sign language.
This is the Eurovision Song Contest. The UK entry did receive the maximum 12 points from the Italian jury, although it turned out that was the one and only concession Keir Starmer managed to wrangle from the EU trade deal. Time now for the odd one out round. Just one between you this week. They are Ben Houchen, weather presenter Paul Hudson, a pony called Patrick, and James Corden.
There are pictures of them.
Ben Houchen, he's the mayor of Teesside. The top right man was Paul Hudson.
Now, Paul Hudson, I know only too well. He's the weatherman for BBC Look North.
Yeah.
In every broadcast, he mentioned the weather in Wet Wang.
Wet Wang.
I think that Paul Hudson was dubbed the mayor of Wet Wang by another TV presenter, Richard Whiteley. And James Corden, of course, was overheard saying he was open to the idea of being mayor of London. Of course, he's got all the skills, all the people skills, hasn't he?
Who is the odd one out?
The horse.
I'm jumping in there because I think the horse is a mare. Horse is a mare. The weatherman's a mare. And I know you got all this, but I'm taking your findings.
Yeah.
And then the other fella's a mayor, the northeast guy, and James Cousin's the only one that wants to be a mayor. And I would never have got that if you hadn't told me anything about the others.
That is the right answer.
Yeah.
Chris, I'm gutted.
But there are points and we're not sharing them.
Yeah, but also a horse called Patrick is not a mare.
It is.
Stallion.
No.
No, he's actually a mayor.
Yeah, it's not a mare, but it is a mare.
He is a mayor.
It doesn't work written down.
The horse is the mayor of Cockrington in Devon.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, I got it wrong, but for the wrong reason.
It's good.
Patrick, a 2-foot miniature Shetland pony, was made mayor of the Devon village of Cockrington in 2022 because he was non-judgmental, genuinely caring and supportive to all. Here he is in his robes.
Yeah.
And what's the controversy surrounding Patrick?
He hasn't done anything.
He's been barred from the pub.
Barred from the pub?
Yes, he used to enjoy popping in for a Guinness.
Yeah.
To the Drum Inn, he had his own table. Here he is having a Guinness. But Torbay Local Council have said that his table doesn't have planning permission. And he can't even go in the garden because the pub lawn would have to be reclassified as official grazing land.
And there's almost no scandal about the development corporation in the horses area, unlike some of the other people in the photos. Oh, there's Lord Houchen. Teesside. Have a look.
Baron Houchen of High Leven is the mayor of Tees Valley and the chair of the Tees Valley Combined Authority, overseeing the regeneration of the country's biggest brownfield site. Let's see how that regeneration is going.
Yeah, there's been a huge amount of money taken out of the site and very, very little put in. I mean, a government panel had a look at this and, you know, certain various irresponsible members of the press have suggested there's something pretty fishy going on here. They've done it every fortnight in their appalling publications.
The inquiry found no evidence of wrongdoing, of course.
No, they didn't, but they found lots of other evidence of bad management and lack of transparency and other questions that hadn't been answered. You know, you can take that either way.
James Corden was asked, would you run for mayor? And he sort of said, oh, maybe. He was in conversation at the BAFTAs with Beth Rigby. If I say conversation, it's possible she just asked him a question in her traditional style. Let's have a look.
COVID, war in Ukraine, finally. Are you looking forward to the election? Can you win it? Can you win it?
That was Richard Holden, the Conservative Party chair.
I just saw him out of my... And I love it, though.
Well, Well, Paul the weatherman...
Is he a proper mayor?
Well, he's an honorary mayor, but Richard Whiteley was previously the mayor of Wetwang. Since 2006, it's been Paul Hudson, the weatherman from Look North. So we've gone from Cockington to Wetwang. I think Michael Portillo did that on the Great Railway Journey. When he became the mayor of Wetwang, he told Keighley News, "It's worth a visit on a day trip, but if you book for a week, you might be a bit disappointed." Anyway, the government's been trying to introduce a banter ban, as you know, but it hasn't reached the Look North studio. So here's the thing where So Paul is there with the presenter Peter Levy, and some novelty drinks coasters have been made up with their faces on, and here's the chat they have.
That's the forecast. Anne Yates says, "I would love to have Paul face upwards." No, hang on.
I'm actually lost for words, so carry on.
No, I've just read the next line. I can't do it. You can have a coaster.
And if he was face upwards, he would be looking
north, yeah.
They're all currently mayors, except for James Corden, who is reportedly considering running to be one. BBC weatherman Paul Hudson is mayor of a village in Yorkshire. One reporter declared in 2006 Paul was memorably elected mayor of Wetwang. Yes, you remember it knocked the execution of Saddam Hussein right off the front pages. The four-legged mayor of Cockington in Devon is Patrick, a Shetland pony. No wonder he's controversial. He's not even from the area. Time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features as its guest publication, Quarry Management. You should read this week's fantastic piece about a key element of successful quarrying. It's dynamite. And we start with, drivers in the south of France can now what at the roadside?
Build their own quarry.
It's not a quarrying one. Drivers in the south of France can now buy wine from vending machines at the roadside.
Oh, that's great.
The French roadside wine dispensers cater for drivers of every taste. White van man and red van man. Next, quarry fans should have the date of what firmly in their diaries? Oh. What's the big event of the quarry year?
Miss Quarry.
Quarry fans should have the date of the UK Concrete Show firmly in their diaries.
Oh, I've given out the Concrete Awards.
Have you?
I should know that, yeah.
What?
I've presented the Glass Awards, the Concrete Awards and the Brick Awards.
Who's that, to the thickest person?
Well, all the more reason to have the date of the UK Concrete Show firmly in your diaries, although just to warn you, that date's not set in stone. Next, local council plans Britain's first ever festival dedicated to what?
Corruption.
Local council plans Britain's first ever festival dedicated to Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, really?
The festival will feature special beers to celebrate Thatcher, including Iron Lady and Grantham Lass, and, for later in her life, Old Peculiar. There'll be a variety of events at the Thatcher Festival, but apparently no dancing, because her grave is elsewhere. Next, amongst the many achievements of the outgoing president of the Institute of Quarrying, he can be particularly proud of what?
Establishing quarrying as the #1 subject at Islington dinner parties. No, knocking off the woman next door.
Amongst the many achievements of the outgoing president of the Institute of Quarrying, he'd be particularly proud of the development of the National Stone Centre. If you'd like to one day become the president of the Institute of Quarrying, first you'll need a degree in geology, and then I guess just keep chipping away. Next, every 18 seconds, every day for the last 10 years, what?
Brexit. Brexit, Brexit, Brexit. Brexit.
Every 18 seconds, every day for the last 10 years.
Henry Burgess has a massive orgasm. Knocks the tiles off his roof. A new quarry is discovered.
You can have it for that. It's a pothole has been filled in Britain.
Oh, right.
According to a survey, 52% of local roads have less than 15 years structural life left, which is about 15 years more than Eamon Holmes' chair. Next, what surprised to discover unusually large what?
Is this the fossil story? The dinosaurs? Yes. Archaeologists surprised to discover unusually large number of dinosaur bone skeletons.
It's the first bit. What surprised to discover the dinosaur bone?
Archaeologists?
Archaeologists?
No.
They found them in Tesco.
No. Come on, think laterally.
Man. Woman.
No, I'm sorry, it's quarry worker.
Yeah.
Quarry worker surprised to discover unusually large prehistoric pterosaur bone. According to quarry management, the prehistoric bone dates from the Bajokian age. And if you want to know when that was, it came just after the Bajokian age. Next. Couple who what for 4 hours say it was the worst experience of their lives.
Supported Leeds United.
Had sex on bed full of crisps.
Couple who were locked in Madame Tussauds for 4 hours say it was the worst experience of their lives.
They should have started moving.
After their experience of being locked in Madame Tussauds in Blackpool, Michelle Robinson said, "I would never go back there," as says everyone after a visit. Finally, research shows 67% of British students rarely what?
Study.
Visit a quarry.
Research shows 67% of British students rarely use semicolons.
33% of students use semicolons.
Yeah, well, that's
it's shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, they use them to make a winky face when they send a dick pic.
How many people are in this audience? Give us a cheer if you've ever used a semicolon grammatically this year. Oh, go fuck yourselves.
You're very unlucky that the Semicolon Appreciation Society has booked the first 5 rows tonight.
So the final scores are Ian and Chris have 5, Paul and Janet have 6. Before we go, there's just time for the caption competition.
Well, I'll leave this to you, mate, otherwise we'll be here all night.
No.
Look, you can deny sleeping with my wife until you're blue in the face.
On which note, we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Chris McCausland, Paul Merton and Janet Street-Porter. And I leave you with news that despite the EU trade deal, Emmanuel Macron can't resist drawing attention to the UK's over-generous sausage quota. Stars turn out to the premiere of the new Mission Impossible film as Bono prepares to meet Tom Cruise. And at a polo match in Buckinghamshire, there's shock as a freak gust of wind blows away the tent that was concealing Prince Andrew and a young friend. Good night.
My grandfather worked in a quarry. I've just remembered.
Yeah, my dad was a civil engineer.
I was conceived on a bed of crisps.